Here we are at wonderful McMaster University at the most sophisticated automotive science lab, if not in Canada, probably the world.
We've got all sorts of fancy equipment, engine labs. We've got rooms with computers and boards with flashing lights and expensive equipment. More flashing lights, red, yellow, and green.
A thermotron for all your therms.
We have a dyno room with sophisticated wires and computers hooked up to it. But we are not these people. We brought a 95 Dodge Ram. Let's get to work.
Here we go.
First Cummins swap into a Dodge.
I feel like we did a pretty good job on it. Definitely SEMA worthy.
I never have to worry about the steering on this thing again.
These are a 2nd gen mirror with a 4th gen style of mirror.
I think it's pretty well like a direct bolt-on. It does fit really, really nice. Rob is going to be writing his own program to simulate the different driving experiences so we can duplicate that driving cycle. If we can prove that it's better for the environment and better for your pocket, that will make us ecstatic, because if this doesn't work, the whole process doesn't work. This is the first electric axle underneath a Dodge Ram. All right, so there's two kinds of people in the world. Very, very smart people that are able to do calculations and predictions.
All right, step away, foolish amateurs. Just keep back, keep out of it. The roll is mine.
Write fancy science papers and whatever. Then there's guys like me who I want to see stuff hands-on in real world, make sure that I can touch it and I can see it working. And that's why we're here today at McMaster University. We are in the automotive science lab. It's pretty safe to say that we brought the oldest vehicle that has ever been in this building. So old that we can't even hook up the OBD to the dyno and monitor exactly what's going on in the engine. But what we can monitor is the exact emissions that are coming out of this stock 1995 5.9 gas 2-wheel drive engine and simulate a driving experience. And what I mean by that is when you think dyno, how much horsepower is it putting out? We don't care about any of that. What we care about is putting a load and a driving situation on this truck and duplicating it with the 2.8 Cummins and then with the hybrid kit in there afterwards. So the only thing that is actually going to stay the same is the back drive tires, those very nice Ultra wheels and Nitto grapplers. The rest is going to change as we go through the different stages, but we'll be able to see the exact emissions coming out of the tailpipe in all the different situations, the MPGs that we're getting, and making sure that the kit is functional. We're going to put it through its limits. We're going to spend a lot of time here at the university making sure that what we're doing makes sense to the people that write stuff down on paper and type stuff in the computer, and for you and me that can see this thing making noise and spinning some weights. All right, so for fuel consumption, we're a little bit worried because the truck is old. It's 30 years old, and we need to plumb the feed and the return back into the fuel cell that would typically be on a scale. Because I don't want to damage O-rings or have a leak in the fuel system when there is nothing now, we are going to do the physical test and fill the tank right to the very top, do all of our drive tests, and then fill it up again with a jerry can and measure how much it takes to get the fuel right up to the very top again. We'll be plus or minus a quart of fuel, and that's okay. We know that this 360 is inefficient, puts out a pile of emissions, and has mediocre power. But when we get to the 2.8 Cummins, we will 100% plumb that engine into the fuel cell and measure exactly how much fuel we're using between that and the hybrid system and document that. But today we're just kind of figuring out the university, seeing the equipment so we know what to expect, and I can make the fittings nice and quick and adaptable when we come back with the 2.8 in here. So she's full. We're just about strapped down and start making some noise real quick. Here we go. Okay, so what we're doing now is getting the drive cycle together. Right now it's a mission test, which has blips and blurps, not significant hills. This dyno can power the back wheels. It can put a load on it and it can spin the tires as well. So we're gonna see what this drive cycle does, make sure that the truck works, but essentially Rob is going to be writing his own program to simulate the different driving experiences through the city, on the highway, hilly areas, so we can duplicate that driving cycle. This is a new for everybody. The program doesn't exist yet, but we're gonna write it. Here we go.
Shut it off there, Rich. Sorry.
Yeah.
We got a bit of an alarm because the emissions are freaking out.
We had to stop the test early because the carbon monoxide tester's going, alarm is going because this thing is putting out so many fumes that the fire department will be here soon. So what I'm trying to do, I have to shift through the gears, accelerate and decel to keep that green arrow in between the two red lines, essentially as close to that green line as I possibly can. So now that I've kind of figured out how the truck feels on the dyno, how the dyno acts, I'll get better as we go, but that's simulating the exact same drive cycle every single time. We're just gonna top up the tank and then try to get a full drive cycle in there. It's about as full as it's gonna get.
Okay, ready? Start the truck. Yeah, you can see all the values go crazy when that emissions comes in.
Yeah. I think I
pretty good there.
Yeah, good. I think I only hit red once or twice. Shut her off. So what we're doing now is we are weighing the fuel before. We'll top it up exactly to the top again, and then we'll weigh the can again. We'll know exactly how much gas we use that way. Nice and easy. Oh. Yep, there it is.
It was 33.5 pounds before, and now it's 28.5.
Yeah, no, that's significant enough to be sorted out. We've got 23 dead on. Still, nothing evaporated. He said anything over like 100 is bad for any of the readings, parts per million. He said at times we're loading up, trying to get up to speed at the top. He said we were at like 1,200. 12 times the limit. This thing's not very good on emissions.
So Mitch got 13.4 and you guys got 12.18 miles per gallon.
What?
So it says from the EPA it's supposed to do between 11 and 14. So we're
So it's still where it's supposed to be.
yeah.
But which is, it's got 200,000 kilometers, about 120,000 miles. So it's not that old of an engine, but the mileage is where it's supposed to be. So excellent. So that is the official emission test. Rob is going to write the three programs, and he is going to do those tests, so he gets to drive it, have some fun with that. When that's done, we'll come and grab the truck again, and then we'll do all 4 tests the same way again next time we have a new engine. Sweet. gen. Regular cab, long box, big tires, red, beautiful. We all love that truck. And now, as a grown man, finally have, this is like my 4th second gen, but none of them actually made it to the road. This is the first time I'm actually legally driving a second gen that I own on the road. Got a little nervous driving. I got a really bad wheel bearing, but this is our mud truck front end, and luckily they didn't weld the diff together. Not bad for an alignment in the middle of the night at 2 in the morning, because it's driving straight. It's just the steering wheel's upside down, which is handy because none of the gauges work and all the lights are on. So I got the monitor for the Cummins right here, and all I care about is temperature, make sure we don't overheat. We lose oil pressure, well, then it's too late anyway. It's not a bad driving truck. This is the worst possible road. If it doesn't break on this road, we should be fine. Oh, of course that one's 10. Sorry.
10 now?
Well, we stopped here along the way at Minder Brothers Fluid Intake Boot. Too much power in the 2.8. Too much power.
I'm like, that's kind of gutless. It's like it's not much better than the
the 5.9.
The 5.9. I'm like, yeah, there's like not much turbo noises, and then I look in the rear view and the boat tank is collapsing. So I'm like, oh, I forgot to open the vent. I'm not getting fuel. I'm like, oh, I got lots of power. There goes the boot. It's just boots. This was on the Cat too. It's like, I think, but that was the only thing that ever broke on the Cat. Is that like a christening thing? It's like, okay.
Yeah, you know we're good.
Yeah. Oh, good. The boot blew off. Yeah.
Never looked clean under there.
I tried to do a decent job, even though it's so temporary, and it's like 1 week into driving, and then it was running nice and cool. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, that was great.
Should be all right. Most work I did for a weekend of driving ever. Wow. So yeah, now we're not as embarrassed to have this in this nice facility.
The engine and paint job was nice.
Yeah.
You even did the engine.
And the lift, we don't have the rake to it like you had last time.
Still a little bit. I have to put the old springs back in again because the springs are meant for a 1,300 pound Cummins, right?
Oh, okay.
And then now we got a little 500 pound girl in there, so it's like a super stiff ride and up in the air. All right, so we've made it to the test facility, and this was my first test drive in the truck, actually. I took it up down the road real quick, felt that it was the wheel bearing that was shaking, and we'll confirm that because now we're only on rear wheel drive. But we just wanted to get it here for the testing this weekend. Every time I shift, it did not like the lower RPMs. That little 2.8 does not like to be lugged. It gets happy from 1500 to like 2000 RPM when the boost kicks in, and that engine kind of wakes up. So I'm curious if running the engine steady with the generator load at 1800 or 2000 RPM will produce less emissions and use less fuel than shifting through all the gears in our different driving simulations. Now we've got 4 or 5 different driving simulations. Each test gets done 3 times so we can get the average of that, and each test lasts about a half hour. So if we can prove that it's better for the environment and better for your pocket running that steady RPM, that will make us ecstatic because it will only be running half the time. The other half it'll be running off the battery and regen. Cut those emissions in half again. So we won't know that until we get the EV kit in there, obviously, and that will be further on in the video series. But this is good for the exact same truck, same tires, same exhaust, same everything as it was in the 5.9. And I'm curious what these numbers are gonna do. And let's check it out. All right, right, so we got our information back from Rob. The truck's already tore apart again. There's no transmission in it, and we're moving ahead with this. But surprise, surprise, the diesel is better in almost everything. Not quite everything. Diesel is 97.9% lower in hydrocarbon emissions, 99.9% lower carbon monoxide emissions. The buzzer didn't go off once with the diesel. It's 88% better in NOx, 40% lower in carbon dioxide emissions, 36% higher in oxygen. The only crappy thing is the Cummins diesel is 14% less horsepower and 12% less torque. Now, again, that's geared all wrong, and that's okay. We're very excited to be moving in the right direction until we get a product that we're happy behind. And this is part of the process of doing that, is looking at the data at the end and saying, yes, we did build a more fuel efficient setup. You can expect this much return on fuel savings if this is your application. And we can only do that in this kind of scientific study. So we're not finished yet. We are now putting the electric axles under it, as you guys know, and we will test it again and see if we can reduce those numbers even more. We got graciously donated a 2017 Duramax. We're going to get that tested, and then we're going to do a conversion on it as well and do apples to apples again. We are also exploring the option of putting the generator and system behind an engine that's already in the truck, that's already emission compliant. So we're trying to see all the avenues and see what is best, and in the meantime sharing all of that with you guys in the process. So as you guys know, we went to China to meet with manufacturers there because they already have off-the-shelf axles. We couldn't find anybody in North America that was willing to work with us or had anything that we needed.
So what we got right here, this is their 3.5 ton axle. This is what you would see like an F250, F350. They have the electric motor as a one piece in the axle. Other ones that comes off the front that attaches more like a traditional axle. Other ones have dual drive. There's quite a few options.
We are in Hongshu, and we are looking at the semi-truck e-axles. We are literally going to be seeing our axles that we've ordered prior to shipping.
Chase is super excited. Now I'm trying to find a little back room where they're already working on 3.5 and 5.5 ton axles. I think it's definitely in development, but we're seeing what our options are. We talked to Dana, but it's always good to keep our options open.
Awesome, we got it done today.
Meeting in person with all these new suppliers that we have, they want to find solutions to your problems.
My only concern is that the distance from here to here is different.
We got done today what would have taken, well, did take months to talk about. We were able to sit down, draw it out, put it on the board.
I got goosebumps about 5 times. I am so happy with what we accomplished today.
We got the point across, even with the language barrier. We had a great translator, they all understood.
We'll just send the information over and we're good. We got a great 3-step system going forward. We got 3 things we're looking at.
We can get as many axles out as quick as possible, as inexpensive as possible.
There's just some amazing products here. We've got a lot of work done. I can't wait to leave here, have them ship us our axles, and get to work on these trucks now. All right, this is exciting. The pickup electric axles are in. There's a bit of a mistake somehow that came with these. So the front axle here, it works great. The front axle is the right dimension. This is too short for a full-size truck. I don't know how it happened. We double checked. This was the spec that was written down. I'll own this one. I should have double checked the specs we ordered, but this is basically for a Ford Ranger. They can get us the full-size axle. This housing here with the electric motor is the same between it, but I guess is what it is. That's going to delay us another month on getting the rear axles now. But on the positive note, I guess we can look for like a Ford Ranger or a Land Cruiser to retrofit now. So if you notice these axles here, they're the same as Topsy's. They got the one electric motor out on the front. A lot more things are exposed. These designs right here are only temporary to start with, because this is what they had on the shelf that we could order, get shipped over as quick as possible. But they're not the axles we want in the future. We want to go like the new semi-truck axles over there. Those axles with the dual motors, it's protected. This is exposed. Obviously a pickup truck going into the bush, that's not the perfect ideal setting. We're going to adapt it with the twin motors, but this lets us get going, lets us get them on there, lets us get testing. All right, we got all the electric axles loaded up. They're on their way to DeBoss in Ontario. We know they're too short, but he figures he can make a way. I mean, that guy's brilliant at figuring these things out and knows the right people, so he'll adapt those axles, get them into the Dodge. I'm excited.
Oh, look at it, it's covered in plastic, and it's all in one piece. Look at that.
That's good.
It was a lot like Christmas when these things showed up. Very exciting day. This is the front axle that we ended up getting. It's got all the steering linkages. So we're gonna do all our modifications here in-house to make the Dodge go under electric power. So Rich dropped in and told us to figure out what we need to figure out. We're laying out our options and we're saying which one is most likely to succeed. So we've got the motor, the gearbox, the casing for everything, the axle tubes. This is the rear axle that we replaced already with the electric system. We want this on this, powered by this, and that's it. We don't want this. This is the rear chassis that we actually split from the front end that is now on the Dodge that we just painted black. So we basically were like, yeah, the back end is gonna be the same. They fit together real nice. We had all the measurements. So this is here, let's test it out on here. So these shocks, we still have to kind of formulate a bit of a plan with these. So these guys here are not much help to us. So we got to cut those off, weld something on the outside, on the other side to make sure that that everything's going to function well. We have a few more modifications to do. Like some of this stuff is just not quite as strong as we wanted, so we're going to update those. Essentially, we wanted to keep the Dodge rims, and the quickest way to get those rims onto these hubs is to adapt them somehow. So this is going to be the adapter from the Chinese style hubs to the Dodge, and because we needed a little bit of extra length on those axles, the quickest and dirtiest way to get that truck on the road so we could do the test was to do something along these lines. So we're going to carve this guy out of aluminum and give it as much meat as we possibly could to keep it as strong as possible. They're gonna bolt right onto here with these guys. About an inch past here, you're gonna have your bolt pattern for the Dodge rims, and then we'll just be able to slap those tires on. That was at least the plan. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, so we're gonna start by drilling some holes so we have something to mount them with. I love a big chunk of aluminum. It's gonna be pretty.
Oh boy.
Here's number one.
Thing of beauty.
I can clean my toolbox off. Oh, that's okay. It's a machine shop.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
And yeah, so this is the other side. So then we've got the studs here, and those guys are just dropping into those, right? And then we'll have the Dodge system ready to rock.
Right on. Yeah, so the only thing it does is that your wheel bearings are right here, right?
Yeah.
So it tips it.
Yeah.
But again, we're just moving the car and we've got a rear axle on.
It's just so that we can get rolling while we're doing the other one, right?
Yes,
We'll
yeah,
get the front axle finished, figured out. We can put everything together, go for a ride, while we're figuring out the rest, right? And we can do some tests on the front axle system that we're developing before actually making the back axle.
Right.
All right, here it is, an electric axle underneath the Dodge Ram, and I think we are the first ones, Ben. Are we beating Ram?
I think so. I think we are.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
I'll take it. No, this isn't the finished version, but at least we have one in stock form in case we screw everything else up. We are very, very excited about this. So I'm going to take this back, put this on the Ram. I'm going to get T&K the front axle, and they are busy machining that center section for us as well. Again, this is not finished version. This is just prototype, proving the concept, getting some numbers on the dyno, and proving that the system works before we go all in on millions of dollars of R&D and testing and braking and certification and all that. But you'll have to stick around to see all of that. Lots of updates coming up. There's a lot of cool things happening that I can't even talk about, but you guys will find out. You will be the first to know when we are able to share what we're able to share. And remember, if you're not filthy, you're not rich. There we go.